Uh, Good evening, everyone, and good morning. I am Ruchie Pototanon, and my presentation today is titled After the Big Storm and Initial Exploration of the Flooding Events in Iloilo City, following Typhoon Frank, or international name Fengshen. I am from the University of the Philippines, Visayas. So let me start with describing where is Iloilo City. So Iloilo City is a coastal city in central Philippines, facing the Iloilo Strait and the Sulu Sea. It is part of the Western Visayas region and is the capital of the Iloilo province. So as a city, it is where the water flows, as they say, because it is traversed by four bodies of water: Haro River, encircled in black; Iloilo River in red; Batiano River in blue; and Dugon Creek in yellow. Haro River is found in the northern part, and its waters has been tamed by the Haro Flood Control Project. This part, and but Iloilo River, on the other hand, is not really a river but an estuary because it has no tributaries, and it is connected with the Batiano River. Uh, Dungun Creek is a very important body of water, which will also be discussed later which will also appear in our discussions later, because it connects the Iloilo River to the Haro River to the Iloilo River. So the 90% of the city's landmass at an elevation of 2.6 meters above sea level, while the remaining has 5.9 MASL. The city is almost flat, with a slope from 0 to 3%, and most parts only 0.5%. It is divided. It has its area is 7,834 hectares, and is divided into 180 villages called barangays. Um, and this barangays, or these villages, are grouped into seven districts: Haro, La Paz, Lapuz, Mandurriao, Molo, City Proper, and Arevalo. So why is it important to discuss these districts? Because these districts are used to be independent towns, so they actually have their own centers of activity, their own parks and their own churches. So the total population of the city is 447,992, with the district of Haro having a population of 121,241. So, and it's a city that has also plenty of rain. So the climate is monsoonal with two pronounced seasons: dry, January to April, and wet to the rest of the year. Rainfall is highest in August and lowest in February to March. And in 2017, there is 168 days of rain. In June 2021, 2008, it was devastated by the typhoon Fengshen, a local name Frank, which resulted to the widespread flooding and damages of worth 19.5 million pesos. The waters in some areas actually reached 15 feet deep, and 180 villages of Iloilo have experienced some form of inundation. So what are the objectives and the methodology of this study? So the study aims to do the following: collect accounts of flood events in Iloilo City from 2009 to 2019 using easily accessible materials such as newspapers, social media posts, public documents. Analyze the possible causes and effects and trends of flood events, assess how floods are being perceived, utilized, and mitigated by different actors, agencies, and sectors. So this study takes into account only verified published flood accounts. There can be more actual flood events than what will be accounted in this paper. So here are the sources. Usually these are online newspaper sites, local sites: Panay News, News Today, Iloilo Today, News Blog, Sunstar Iloilo, national newspaper Philippine Daily Inquirer, and the government agency Philippine News Agency. So we'll have a quick run through of flood events. So in 2009, there are three flood events. One of the most serious of this was the one in August 3, 2009, caused by Typhoon Julina, in which 56 of the villages were inundated, and the city mayor, Jared Treñas, had to declare a state of calamity. In 2010, there are no recorded flooding events, but there is a change in leadership. So uh, Vice Mayor Jed Mabilog becomes the mayor, and other activities would include preparation for pots for the rainy season. Um, in 2011, there are two flood events, and also this year, a native of Iloilo City's Senator Franklin Drilon committed funds for the Iloilo Bachano River Development Council, and which would also include flood control. Okay. In 2012, there are three flood events, but the major of this is in September 16, caused by Typhoon Karen, but there is no typhoon signal again. And the city engineer points at improper waste disposal as the cause of the blocking of the drainage system. However, the DPWH has raised a point that Iloilo itself, the drainage system of Iloilo, is already obsolete. Okay. And then in 2013, there are three flood events. And if you are familiar with Typhoon Haiyan, this is also the year which it struck the Philippines, which is devastated the Philippines. But Iloilo City was actually spared from Typhoon Haiyan. In 2014, there are two flood events, and these flood events actually triggered some sort of tension between the city government and the Department of Public Works and Highways, to a point that the city mayor has been posting things online to criticize that Department of Public Works and Highways. In 2015, there are two flood events, and in one of these flood events, the Western Visayas Medical Center, the biggest regional hospital, was flooded. In 2016, there are four flood events, and the city council actually asked the Department of Public Works and Highways to explain why the drainage project in the city has not been finished. And the mayor also orders the assessment of flood-prone villages, which results to the identification of uh, the number of creek dwellers, which the city engineer has seen as the reason for why floods have been worsening in the city, because the presence of creek dwellers, who are usually informal settlers, are preventing the dredging. Okay. In 2017, the Sargasso Corporation, which is in charge of the drainage project, failed to finish on time, which of course increased the tension between the city government and the Department of Public Works and Highways. And more so, there's also another change of leadership, because Jed Patrick Magbilog was dismissed from service, and he was replaced by the Vice Mayor Jose Espinosa. And Jose Espinosa um, claims claimed to talk claimed would express his intention to ask the President of the Philippines, Rodrigo Duterte, for funding for the phase two of the drainage plan, for the flood control. This one for the Iloilo River, because the one in Haro River is almost completed already. Um, 2008, there are four flooding events, and early that year, mangrove scientist Georgian Primavera raised the alarm on the effects of the drainage of the flood control project on the city's mangroves. Okay, because the dredged material are dumped in the riverbanks, causing some of the mangroves to die. Okay, and because of the frequent flooding in 2018. So if you remember, there are four flooding events. Then now the then Speaker of the lower house of the Philippines, Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, planned to convene a panel to investigate why Iloilo is flooding, because in her visits to Iloilo, she uh, she looked at the Haro Flood Control Project, which she somehow considered as a legacy, because this was first it was begun during her term as president, because Speaker Arroyo used to be the president of the Republic of the Philippines, and she's even quoted to say that the Haro River Flood Control Project is the backbone of progress for the city of Iloilo. But for the rest of the year, yeah, you have 4 flood incidents. So let's now look at the stats. So from 2009 to 2019, there are 29 flooding incidents in the city of Iloilo. And there are no flood incidents in 2010. So looking at when do these flood incidents happen, majority of the flood incidents happen in the month of August, followed by July, July, and then September, October, and then June and November. But if you're going to look at the data through the years, you'd see that at some point the flooding incidents happen earlier by year. And if from 2009 to 2017, the first flooding incidents would happen in the month of August. But by 2012, 2014, 2008, 2019, you see that the flooding incidents would happen earlier in July. And here's also the data of flood incidents by district. And the district that has the most number of recorded flood incidents would be City Proper or the downtown area, followed by the Haro district, the most populated one, and then La Paz district, Mandurriao district, Arevalo district, Molo district, and Lapus district. But if you're going to disaggregate the data here across the years, well, Haro used to be the most flood prone, having almost three flooding incidents per year. But in 2010 and in 2010 and most especially 2012, there is no record of flooding in Haro. Why? Because probably by 2011, since the Haro River Flood Control Project has been fully operational, the Haro River no longer cause so much flooding in the Haro district. While in 2009 to 2011, 2009 and there's a mistake here. 2011, 2012, 2009, 2011, 2012. Arevalo would experience its three of its most frequent recorded flood incidents. Okay. Next. So, and the flood incidents, actually, three of the 4 flood incidents for Arevalo is only from one barangay or from one village. And which village is this? Okay. So, top 5 villages with reported flood incidents. Of course, number 1 with 11 flood incidents from 2009 to 2019 is the village of CALUBIHAN. And CALUBIHAN is part of Haro district, and so is the village of Desamparados, which 7 reported flood incidents, followed by Sook. So Sook is actually the village that I meant that was frequently flooded in the district of Arevalo, and then followed by San Isidro, which is also from Haro, and then Oñate de Leon, which is from Mandurriao. But of course, this data is very partial. It's only based on the documents that specifically mention the names of these villages. So if the village is not mentioned, I do not count it. It's not mentioned, I do not count it here I do not tally it with my data. But why do you think, what's the possible reason why CALUBIHAN village is the most flooded of all villages in Iloilo City? Well, if you're going to look at in the map, this is CALUBIHAN village, and it's actually positioned it's actually positioned along the curves and the meanders of the Dungon Creek. So whenever Haro River has so much water and it overflows, it exits through the Dongon Creek. And as you see, it's at the meander of the CALUBIHAN village is at the curves, at the twists of the Dongon Creek. So if when it overflows, it's very much in a possibility of being inundated. Okay. So, final thoughts. The Iloilo City government, with the help of national agencies, attempts to reduce the risk of flooding by having projects and activities to eliminate flooding hazards. These can range from huge structural approaches to local policies. However, Iloilo City's topography and location makes it difficult to fully eliminate flooding. Increase in the amount of rainfall and an earlier onset of the rainy season will make this even harder, and this could be further aggravated by climate change. Flooding is political and is politicized. Local and national political personalities take responsibility and also credit for the attempts to mitigate flooding. This study can be further enriched with more data, written sources, both as print media or information online. Um, uh, So written sources such as print media or information online have a bias towards those who have courage and have those who have coverage and have access. The gaps on data can be supplemented by interviews and life histories, but with the ongoing lockdowns, it is difficult to do research. Furthermore, primary weather data can be used to validate reports, but doing this also requires more time and mobility. So, for example, I've been having a difficult time accessing actual climate data for this one. One approach probably in the future, if I would like to enrich this research, is that I would look at life stories, life histories, so and also most especially social histories of those who are living in the flood-prone villages, because there's a really huge possibility that there are flood incidents that my study has missed because they have never been recorded, they have not been published, and yeah, and I think with if I would be allowed to do field work in the future and have more community immersion, have more access uh, to the site, because the problem right now is I live very far from the site. Um, I could have I the the data would be richer. So I would like to say thank you to Nereo Lujan and also to Bernie Arellano for allowing me to borrow their maps and also their photos. So and also to Ma'am Donna Magno of the City Disaster Risk Reduction um, this CDRMO office of Iloilo City for the support. So, madam mo ganyan salamat. For questions, please send me an email at rdpototanon@up.edu.ph. Thank you very much.